The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, work hard, but never settle without achieving it. On that note, I, Dr. Nidhi Srivastava, Associate Professor IIEBM, welcome you all to the IIEBM's induction program of 21st Batch Ignite 2020. This session will be of an hour where first 40 minutes will be knowledge sharing and rest 20 minutes will be question and answer. You can type your questions in the chat box which will be addressed at the end of the session. This you already know. We know that every good citizen adds to the strength of the nation, but how to be a good citizen is what we will learn today, as our today's guest will help us understand the same. So let me introduce Mr. Ravinath. Sir has more than 40 years of experience and he is presently the director on the board of Monga Strayfield Private Limited, India. Its wholly owned subsidiary, Strayfield Limited UK and Quantum Global Technologies in Canada. The Monga Group manufactures radio frequency ovens, widely accepted in the processing of foods, textiles, glass fibers, and paper, amongst other applications. The Strayfield brand is a trusted name for excellence in radio frequency equipment. Sir is a mechanical engineer from Mumbai in 1976. After that, he gained 9 years of experience in sales and marketing of engineering products and then set up a family business in 1985 for manufacture of impulse sealers. He has handled the formation of a joint venture company between the Monga Group and Strayfield Limited UK in 1996, which enabled the Strayfield technology to be made available at better manufacturing economies, thus making deeper market inroads. The business of Strayfield was acquired by the Monga Group in 2005. Thereafter, he was responsible for the amalgamation of various family businesses. He continues to practice and work in his forte since then. So without wasting much time, let us start the session. And like the IIEBM, we say, let knowledge prevail. Over to you, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Nidhi, for the nice introduction which you handed over. And a very good afternoon to all the faculty as well as the incoming students who are coming to a very, shall I say, prestigious institution, IIEBM. At the very outset, I am going to recite a small reading from the Guru Granth Sahib. This is read as Aad Sach, Anad Sach, Nanak Hai Sach, Hosi Vi Sach. Or translated, it means that what was truth at that time, what is the truth today, and what will be the truth when it does happen in future. On that note, to reassure all of you, I am also happy to convey to you that do not get bored or bogged down with the current scenario where we have a health challenge all over the globe. This time too will settle down and there is no room for despair. In fact, you have a great opportunity which people of our era and age did not have, that you can attain knowledge from the comfort of your own homes or offices, wherever you are viewing this from. Rest assured, everything has its own value. Yes, attending a classroom has its value, but consider this, that this is a classroom in itself and nothing less than that. Your professors, your mentors, your teachers are available to you 24/7, which is something which was not available to us. We had just 1 hour sessions in a college and then we saw our teachers next day. Coming back to the topic of the day, how to be a good citizen. Before we delve on the subject of how to be a good citizen, it becomes important that we also define what is the meaning of good and what is the meaning of citizen. We could have various definitions for it. Different peoples from different walks of life could be giving their own thoughts to it. However, to sum up the way I look at it, a citizen is a human being who is a part of a community where there are more than he himself or she herself who live and co-live or cohabit with other similar human beings. More the number of such people in a community form a semi-civilization, and over a period of time, each member is then called as a citizen of that commune. What constitutes goodness? A very safe way to define goodness is, if I like something, I should be able to expect the other person in my community also to get the same or like the same. Maybe not like the same, but if I need a shelter of mine, it is not that only I should get it, even my other person in the community should get a shelter. So if it's good for me, it is good for the other, may not always apply. I mean, the fish lives in water, I live on the surface. But if you need water to live, you need water to live. If you need air to live, you need air to live. What I'm trying to say is that for peaceful coexistence, you must be in a position to accept that every member of your community is a unique person or a unique living being and deserves to have the position of such uniqueness. I'm now going to proceed on to certain finer attributes which, in my opinion, go towards making or breaking the persona of a person. At this juncture, I'll be specific that I am only touching the Homo sapien kingdom, not the animal or the vegetable kingdom, because the topics are such that they are very vast. And at this moment, I would restrict my discussion only to the humankind, human beings. Most of our goodness is lost or compromised when there is a negative feeling in us. Negative feelings are most essentially fear based, and such fears are fears of the unknown. We rarely know what the fear is, but it is just out of somebody having said something, and then we go into a mass hysteria following of that fear. However, since these are things which play on your mind, the fear feeling or the fear complex makes you want to protect yourself, or what you say, protect your existence, or protect whatever you own, or protect your health. It's basically protection of everything which you feel is yours and needs to be there always with you. Now, when you come to this feeling that you have to protect everything that you own, you are willing to do anything to do that. And that anything, when it comes into play, is the nemesis of your being not a good citizen. Some of the things which go into making these fear related reactions are telling a lie. I mean, in every day we tell lie at the drop of a hat. We are so much tuned to being untruthful that it has become the order of the day. We unfortunately have lost to recognize the power of truth. We depend on a lie, not realizing that the lie still needs something to stand on, and it doesn't have anything to stand on. At some point in time, it gets declared, and that is where, if you have built a castle on lies, it's going to come crashing down. Yet another factor which is negative is a factor of envy. We are not all born equal in this world. We are born unequal. but we try to see that if we bring about equality in ourselves, if I see somebody else who is by his situation in a place of more comfort, let us say for the sake of this discussion, more comfort, then I feel envious of such person. And this envy is again a negative feeling. This envy builds up discontent, where you start feeling uncomfortable, you start craving for obtaining those things which are not with you and which you can see somebody else has it. In fact, if you come very close into your own home, you have probably heard of a thing like sibling rivalry. I mean, if you're more than one child to your parents, then obviously each child is going to be treated specially by the parents or each other. But then you tend to differentiate that, oh, my other brother is being treated more generously or more specially. And this builds about a feeling of jealousy. That sibling rivalry comes into a feeling of jealousy, where again, it takes time for you to get to the understanding that all people being unequal, they will be treated differentially. It is for us to accept that the inequalities which are existing are there, and we have to be happy about it and live with it and work towards improving it. Just disowning it will not do them away. The discontentment part, which we mentioned a little while back, also brings about feelings of greed. Then you come into feelings like you have obsession for certain things. You have to come out of the feeling that you cannot always be obsessed about something. Even if you are to work for your growth, it cannot be such an obsession that it overpowers each and every facet of your existence. A similar matching thing on the other side is zeal. A different word for discontent is also ambition. Ambition is normally used in a good sense. However, if I were to go into a bit of Hindi and we talk of Mahabharat, where it is said for the crown prince on the Kaurav side that he was क्या कहते हैं महत्वाकांक्षी था, and उसकी महत्वाकांक्षा बहुत ऊंची थी. Now, having an ambition which is high may not always be bad, but if it gets the better of you, then obviously there is a reason to revisit your ambition and redefine the norms of it. Out of the ambition comes yet another negative feeling, which comes again from the feeling of protection, is what you call a feeling to have power over others, also technically called as megalomania. It's a maniacal feeling that I want to be most powerful. I should be able to control everybody. Why this feeling comes is because we are unsure about our own self. We are not sure that we are safe. So we want to make other people less safer than what we are. We want to be more powerful than them. This is yet another negative aspect of our thinking process. What causes the effect of these negative things is we go into a lifestyle which could be doing negative things. Negative things could be, let us say, a very simple thing is that you are a couch potato and you keep on watching a lot of TV. And while watching TV, you do a lot of junk food along with that. Now, that is not a safe or a healthy food habit. But yet, yes, many of us, most of us, do indulge into it. There are those who will give way to other minor and major vices that could be gambling or maybe drug abuse or liquor abuse, and just to get away from the feeling of feeling that they are needing better protection. This, however, is only a temporary phase. If you work towards your fears, you will find that there is a way out of your fear. Most of you will remember a nice advertisement of one of the soft drinks which says, Dar ke aage jeet hai. Well, it is true. If you feel fear about something, face your fear, you will find a way out of it. Rather than succumbing to minor temptations which may have a long term impact on your well being. It could lead you to things like gambling, having low morals, and being unhygienic at times. Like it can be anything which is something which your community or your society will look down upon. And this is something which you never wanted. You always wanted that people should look at you and love you. The feeling is that you should feel wanted. People should be happy about seeing you. They should smile at you when they see you. Now, when will they do that? When you are a good citizen. You have to have the goodness in you for people to react back positively. Having said about the negative feelings or the negativities of your own persona, I will at this stage now delve into areas which make you a better person. I won't say a citizen, a better person. A better person automatically or ipso facto becomes a good citizen. I started with a saying that what is goodness? Goodness is something that if I need something, my other fellow there also should get it. Is that what you mean by goodness? Maybe not always. But if he is getting something and I don't get it, I should not be grousing about it. Some of the attributes of being a good person is that the community in which you live, where they permit you to be recognized as a citizen, are that you should respect the local laws. You might not like a local law. Maybe it is something which doesn't hit with you. Maybe you were brought up in an atmosphere or surroundings where the law frame was different. But if you have changed your environment or come to a place or change your domicile where the laws are different, then you must be prepared to accept them because the community where you have moved in has those laws. Hence, if you want to be a good citizen of wherever you are, you have to abide by the laws there. The laws are defined by whom? The same community, the same people. Why are the laws defined? It is for the goodness of the people so that they can live happily in peaceful coexistence. Next comes is to be disciplined about it. Just being law abiding is one part. Disciplined is a shorter arm or maybe an extension of being law abiding, but discipline has something to do with a very personal aspect of things. You could be law abiding, but you could still be indisciplined. There's a very fine distinction between them. Coming to other areas of being a good citizen is, are you a sociable person? Are you in a position where you go and meet people, participate with them, be social in the events, invite people to be with you? It is not that you're inviting people to your home alone. You could be inviting somebody to sit with you in the bench in a park. Or maybe if you're traveling in a bus every day, maybe you like to talk to somebody who's sitting next to you. That is being sociable. From being sociable, the other aspect which comes out is for your community, and your community extends into your nation. Are you patriotic? The sovereignty of your country is something which you must love unquestionably. If you have any reasons or misgivings or doubts about not loving your country, then either you must change the country to the way you want it to be, and if that is not possible, you should not be living in that country. But if you're living in that country, you should very well respect that country and be patriotic towards that country. You must uphold all the good values of your country and its safe being and its well being. Going further, your country is not just you alone. There are things around you, like the nature. You have the flowers and fauna, you have the jungles, you have the forest lands, you have the animal kingdom. Mother Nature and God Almighty has given you these free for you to be happy with and not to be irresponsible and to spoil them. As a good citizen, it is incumbent upon you to look at the nature around you is preserved well and proper. You should take every effort to see that your actions do not spoil the nature. Going a little further, if you're living in a community, a very simple thing, you are, let us say, better uh, money wise than somebody else, and you own a vehicle. A vehicle could be anything like a bicycle, a scooter, a car, what have you. But let us take a car or a vehicle which we ply on the roads. When you are a citizen, and you got to be a good citizen and you got to be a law abiding citizen, then when you are plying your vehicle on the road, you have to ensure that your actions are within the limits of safety and they do not intrude upon the privacy of others or make the others uncomfortable. What I'm trying to say is, when you're driving on a road, if you tend to go and brake heavily very close to a person, you make that person feel a little afraid that he was just going to be knocked down. That would not be a good way of driving. You have to, while you may say that my car is safe, the brakes are very good, and I am a good driver, I can stop within inches. What still remains is that your action made the other person feel uncomfortable. The other person probably lost a couple of heartbeats. Ke, aaj to main gaya. Those sort of things. Or if you're using loud sounding vehicles like two-wheelers with a very high exhaust sound, or if you're using sound systems in your automobile with all the windows pulled down and music blaring away, and doing that in the middle of the night, passing through all the streets. Maybe you are trying to flash your ego, but you are not being a good citizen. Now comes, within your commune, you should also be giving everybody an equal opportunity to do something for the community. You should not be always greedy and craving, I will do everything. The equal opportunity is not restricted to a distinction by sex, but it is available to all, be it male, female, transgenders, what have you. Everybody who is in your community, who is a part of it, and who is contributing to the community's existence, needs to have a rightful opportunity to do work or to contribute to the community in as equal a way as possible. You should not in any way deprive somebody of such an opportunity. In fact, you should make way where you find that if certain section of your community is deprived of an opportunity, you should make way for it. Let them feel that they are a part of the community. Let them not feel that they are outcasts. Yet another part of good community living is what you do with your money. Spending money is good, but when you spend money unwisely, it doesn't give a right signal to the society at large, and it doesn't give a right signal to your bank balance health also. You have to draw a fine balance. You might say that, okay, I have earned a lot, I earn better, so I can be doing a lot of spending. Yes, fair enough. But if you were unwise about how you do it or how you flash around, then you could be inviting envy, you could be inviting jealousy or greed amongst others in the community. So it is not always that just because it is truth, just because you got it, you flaunt it. No, you don't have to flaunt everything just because it is the truth. Truth has its way of being portrayed, and you have to be wise about money, especially when you do it, because that becomes a very difficult thing to manage. Friends, I would, at this stage, when I touch money, will recommend to you a reading by the late Miss Ayn Rand on the meaning of money. You could search on Google and read all the things what Miss Rand has been writing. The name is spelled as AYN, and the second name is RAND, spelled as Miss Ayn Rand, and she has written a lot on objectivism. She writes, or rather, she wrote very well, and you might find the reading of interest to you. She has written on various subjects, money being one of the important subjects there. Having spoken on the bad parts, now we are going to come to the truly true parts, which will essentially bless you to, become a strong pillar of society. People should be in a position to look at you with respect, plus maybe even, जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं, तुम्हारे नाम की कसम ले सकते हैं कि इन्होंने कहा है तो ठीक ही है, अच्छा ही है, सच ही है. I mean, you become an epitome of the law. The first attribute touched here upon is truth. A very wise old saying is, if you keep on speaking the truth always, your word becomes the law in the universe. Repeat again. If you keep on speaking the truth always, your word becomes the law in the universe. Translated in simpler language, it implies that if you have been living your life truthfully and maintained it so, then your community around you also has seen it so, and they have recognized it so, and they respect you so, to an extent that they look forward to your guiding the community with your experience with which you are rich. It takes a long time for you to reach that level in your society. However, it is not something which is not attainable. It is possible. After truth comes respecting, being respectful. People say respect is not demanded, it is commanded. Yes, which is true. There is nothing wrong about it. However, it is equally truthful or true that it is a virtue if you recognize those who have come into this world ahead of you, or those who are in a position of work or social positions which are higher than you, that you recognize their seniority over you. Seniority does not mean that you are any lesser in where you were. If you respect your elders, it doesn't reduce your level where you are. And similarly, if a young person has become the judge of a quote, it should not hurt your ego to address him as Justice or Mr. Justice. You have to be respectful to the situations around you. If there is a tree giving shade, you have to be respectful about it. As simple as that as well. Respect means you are recognizing that anything outside you is what it is and can be what it is. You should not be scorning it. If you wish to change anything in your environment, it will evolve by need. It doesn't have to be forced by your simple, shall we say, scorn for it. Another attribute of goodness is honesty. Honesty is not just in money alone. You can be having honesty of purpose. You are a student, you want to be honest, then you should be devoting maximum time to studying what you have come to study. If you are honest as a family member, then you have to be honest to everybody in your family by acting the way it is best in everybody's interest. Honesty is a virtue is where you do not compromise what it takes for the purity or fidelity of the situation. You stand up to it. Another good act of goodness is to be kind to people. It does not harm to be kind. Kindness can come only if you are willing to accept that you have something to give. If you always feel that you need something, then maybe you will never feel like doing an act of kindness. And kindness should be random in nature. You should do random acts of kindness. Kindness should not be guided always by a purpose. Purposeful kindness has its place. If you are building a hospital in your community with your own money which you have saved and you're being kind to the community, yes, that is purposeful kindness. But did you do it for anything specifically which would gain you? No. And if it is not so, then it is essentially still a random act of kindness. Out of kindness comes being helpful. When can you be helpful? You can be helpful when you yourself are in a position to again render, give, or lend. Help is to assist your neighbor, your colleague, your fellow commune person to achieve or to reach a target which you are able to recognize needs a little extra support. And that extra support is available with you to give to such a person. You can be helpful in two ways. One, by attaching kindness to it where you do not expect a return, or you can be helpful by expecting a recognition. Like if you borrow money from a bank, the bank is helping you out, but then the bank is doing business. You may call it helpfulness, but it is not really helpfulness. They are doing business. But that money from the bank helped you to do your business and set up your own work. So you will always say the bank helped me. Maybe yes, that's the way you look at it. But the truth is different. Helping essentially means that you should be not expecting anything in return. You may, if it happens, it is different, but that feeling should not be there that I am going to assist somebody so that this person looks at me nicely. Even if you think, you know what, I am young today, let me help the old people cross the road, let me hold their hand and make them cross the road. You would say that's an act of helping, act of kindness. But in your mind, if you have some thought which tells you, कल को मैं बूढ़ा होगा ना तो मेरे को भी कोई हेल्प करना चाहिए ना, तो इसीलिए मैं आज कर रहा हूं. That expectation is not needed. However, what you have done is you have been exemplary to society, that at a young age, if you have been helpful to the elderly to cross a road, or maybe if you have helped a small child going to school cross a road, then you are sending a social message down to everyone that this is the type of help which you can do to make your community a better place to live. I would be asking most of you a very simple question. How often do you find when you're driving a vehicle and if you have some pedestrian who's in the way, you normally tend to blow the horn or honk off the person either to stop or to cross over faster? How often do you stop your own vehicle and let the person cross? Answer it to yourself, and you will yourself know how good a citizen you are. You might perhaps argue with me saying that pedestrian had no business to be on the road. Doesn't he know that he should not be walking on the road? Yes, that is acceptable. That he should also, as a good citizen, not have come on the road. But then, gentlemen and ladies, two wrongs don't make one right. If that man is wrong, does it give you a right to do a wrong thing? Absolutely not. If in turn you stopped your vehicle and let him pass, or maybe even if you explain to that person politely that, look, gentlemen, you're jeopardizing your life as well as creating a civic problem, maybe that person will appreciate your suggestion in a better way. And next time he will probably think twice or look around before he crosses the road. Do we ever do it? And how often do we do it? And if we don't do it, can we start doing it? It will make you happy. Trust me, try it someday. And it will make the other person also recognize that he has made you stop in your tracks avoidably. Had he not stepped, he would recognize that you would have continued to drive by. Trust me, truth doesn't need evidence. That man will recognize where he has made a mistake. But for that, you also have to stop in your track and let him pass. Right? That is helpfulness. Now, along with the helpfulness comes yet another feature, which is smile. A very strong, powerful tool available to the human beings. A small poetry I remember from my school days, which reads as, a smile is just a little thing, it doesn't cost a lot. It's free to the beggars and to the kings, so why not smile a lot? Smiling, apart from biological reasoning that it helps your face muscles by not straining many, it also gives you a good feeling in you. When you get up in the morning, if you smile at people around you, which includes your family, or as you step out of your house, your neighbors, and as you step out to go to work, to people you see on the road, if you have a pleasant look on your face, a smile on your face, and you look at people with a twinkle in your eyes, which says, hey there, how are you? I'm good. Are you good? This makes people feel nice. They will reciprocate back to you. That feel good factor comes with a smile. And when somebody smiles back at you, oh, the joy is manifold. You will be surprised how nice feelings you get when somebody smiles at you. Try to see how often has anybody smiled at you. There would be very few people smiling at you. Why don't they smile at you? Because they are not smiling anyway. However, if you take the first step and smile at them, trust me, they may not return your smile first time, second time, but if you are a regular smiler at them, they will start smiling back at you. And that will make a feeling of happiness in your community as well. That people are not carrying a grouchy look on their face, but they are having a happy feeling. Now, why is this happy feeling important? Because when you are happy, you deliver better, you work better, you execute better. But if you are grouchy, you are worried. Today I have driven my car, the tire is likely to go flat and I'm going to be stranded and probably I will miss my date in the evening. So your fear is there in your mind and you tend to do any sort of things. And one of them is you stop smiling. Somebody comes at you and you make a nasty remark at that person. I'm getting late. Please get out of my way. And things like that. Does it really change the situation? It does not. So if you have challenges, you're facing them yourself. It is not anybody else's challenge. But if you do smile, you make things easier for everyone, which includes you yourself. Smile done. Just a smile is not sufficient. You also got to be a good listener. People communicate with you through words, actions, and what have you. But most often it is words. And you should have in you a tact to give people a patient listening. Listen to them, don't hear them. There's a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is some sound coming onto your sound drum in your ears, in your eardrum, and it's like cacophony. But when you listen carefully to what somebody is saying, then you are communicating, and communication helps bonding. So be a effective listener, a good listener. I've got some very few more topics which are coming up. I really do not know how much time do I have. We are already into just about 16 minutes. Okay. Uh, Nidhi, are you listening in?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Uh, at this stage, would you want to invite any questions? Because then I would go into the summation and ending.
Sir, you proceed with the summation and ending, and post that we will
Fair
start the
enough.
questions.
Fair enough. Uh, Friends, some of the other positive attributes which are improving your persona are being charitable. Every one of us can do charity to his or her own level of competence. And charity doesn't mean only giving money. You can be charitable by teaching somebody through his school. You can be charitable by helping out a person with his homework or something like that. Charity, normally we understand, is money based, but no, that is not the whole truth. Of course, most often money is a medium through which you can be charitable, but charity has to come from you, from your heart. Another good aspect is to be faithful to those who are connected with you. In fact, be faithful with the universe for that matter, because you don't have any other choice. If you be unfaithful, you will become an outcast, not the universe. Brood over this, that you do not have a choice but to be faithful. A topic which very lightly comes amongst people who are a little above your age and many, many years below my age is monogamy, having more than one spouse, as they say. The faithfulness or the loyalty attributes, what we say, are something which are defined by the society in which we live. So, having said that, I will not go deep into this aspect of one's persona, but suffice to say that even if your society permits polygamy, you should be faithful to each and every partner in the partnership. You cannot be unfaithful to some. Not that I'm advocating polygamy. What I'm trying to say is that faithfulness is important in a good living. If you make promises, abide by those promises. If you are unable to keep up your promises, have the moral courage to approach the person to whom you have promised and either seek a way out of it or admit that where you are falling short on your promises. Trust me, when you are forthright and frank with people, they will appreciate your frankness, and that is a part of honesty as well. One more aspect is to take responsibility for your action. Many times we take actions and then we are not wanting to be responsible about it. And there are various situations in this. Like, I could park my car right outside a hospital main door, which could be preventing a emergency ambulance from entering inside. And I don't want to be responsible about my having done so. And when somebody brings it to my notice, I simply say, मैं 2 minute में ही आने वाला था. I don't want to be admitting that I am responsible for the wrong thing which I have done. Ownership is yet another way of calling being responsible for your action. You got to take ownership for what you do, for good or for bad, whether you did something right or wrong. It is you who did it. And so have the moral strength, have the courage of your convictions that irrespective of whether it was right, wrong, good or bad, I did it, so I own it. Or I take responsibility for it. That is yet another strong attribute which will make you a good citizen, is to be responsible for your actions. When out of the education system, when you enter into the world of professional work, this aspect of being responsible for your actions will stand you to good stead. Your peers in industry will look at you with a high respect. You may lack experience, but you would be having a good acceptance level with your peers. Experience will happen, it will come, but the acceptance of you as a persona by your what do you call seniors in the business or trade will be something which will support you. Apart from the loyalty part and the charitable part and the faithfulness part, or helpfulness, kindness, comes one more personality trait, and that is compassion. Tolerance and compassion go side by side, and you have to be very cautious that you don't hit one with the other. You got to be compassionate? No, I don't think so. But if you are compassionate, does it help? Yes, it does help. Compassion does not cost you so much. You may be required to contribute some of your time, money, and energy to be compassionate. But even if you're compassionate in thought, which is a good starting point, you should be able to, what do you call in Hindi, आपको संवेदना होनी चाहिए. You should be able to feel the pain of the other person and empathize with that person. If you are able to do that, then what happens is that you are able to help, support, or be charitable to that person to come up to a higher standard. And when I said don't hit compassion with tolerance, there are various situations or numerous situations where your tolerance is challenged. Of late, a year or two back, the word tolerance was widely used in the news circle. But if you look at your day-to-day living, are you not tolerating so many things? Tolerating does not mean that it's got a bad tone to it. You're accepting something is you're tolerating it. But what normally you're trained to mean is that if I'm accepting or bearing it, am I happy about it or am I uncomfortable about it? Normally, when you say tolerating, it means no, I'm not happy. People say that, oh, I'm tolerating your behavior because you're a good worker. It's taken in a arrogant or a negative way. Whichever way, when you are tolerating situations, you are faced with the situations and you do not have a choice. Like, let me take the current situation of COVID. Are you not tolerating Mother Nature's wrath on you? You are. Are you going to lose hope? Are you going to despair? Are you going to crash down or break down? Not really. So the capacity to tolerate has to be developed, and it has to be there in your persona. You cannot say, I just cannot tolerate it. You have to be able to accept people, situations, and surroundings such that you make peace with your mind that yes, it is so. It is well said that you cannot get what you like till you like what you get. You might think it's wordplay, but it is still the truth. How many of you, I'm asking a very dangerous question, moderators, I'm seeking your pardon first, but children, how many of you feel that you're tolerating your parents? You answer this to yourself, and you might find that the answer surprises you, and you are not sure, even your conscience will shake you that is it really so? But when you're living together in a family, as a family, that is also tolerating. Every person in your family is unique in their own sweet way. And when we started this topic, we said that we have to be able to accept the existence of such uniqueness of each entity and give them their space to be there the way they are. Tolerance is an extension of such a feeling in your own way. Yet another personality trait of a good citizen or a good person is that apart from when I said you are a good listener, you, after listening, you should also be in a position to be reasoned with. If you are not going to accept somebody else's reason, then you become dictatorial. And the moment you become dictatorial, then you are compromising peace, happiness, and what have you. But when you accept that you will consider the reason presented by the other person, there are very brilliant chances that you might educate yourself that what you considered a reason was subject to improvement, subject to correction, or was altogether wrong, any of them. This process of education will give you a higher level of satisfaction, but it can happen only if your mind is open that you can be reasoned with. हिंदी में इसको कहते हैं कि मैं आपके साथ में चर्चा करूं, तर्क करूं, और तर्क ऐसा हो कि हम आपस में एक दूसरे की बात को समझें और वो समझते हुए उसमें की जो अच्छाइयां हैं उसको दोनों तरफ से कबूल करें, ना कि सिर्फ मैं तुम्हारी अच्छाई कबूल करूं और तुम मेरा कुछ नहीं करो, वैसे नहीं. Tark basically could mean an argument, but let us not define it to that meaning. What I'm trying to say is that it is your ignorance which will make the other person want to come and convince you. And when that person is reasoning with you, if you simply shoo away that person, क्या भाग जा, तुझे क्या पता है, मैंने धूप में थोड़े बाल सफेद किए. And if you simply push out people, chances are that you will miss that reason. But if you listen to that person and be willing to be reasoned with, chances are both of you will get educated. So be a person who can be reasoned with. Rushing through more good aspects, as I see here, is be a loving person, be a gentle person, be polite, keep your manners such that they are making people feel comfortable. Have your actions and body languages cultured. Extend courtesy to people everywhere. Extending courtesy doesn't mean that you are lesser. If you say namaste to somebody, doesn't mean you are smaller than the other person, but it's a basic greeting of courtesy. When I said tolerant, patience comes along with it. A very strong attribute of a very strong person in society is that person who can pardon. क्या तुम किसी को माफ कर सकते हो? Can you pardon somebody? If you can, believe me, you are at a very high level of strength. It takes a lot of doing to be able to pardon somebody for a wrong deed. And this is an attribute which is necessary in all walks of life, in every relationship, and every hour of the day. You have to be able to pardon things which you feel are unjust, unfair, wrong, unreasonable, or what have you. And if they have done you wrong, for things which happened wrong with you, if you are able to pardon things, then you find a way out of it. हिंदी के भाषा में जैसे कहते हैं किसी भी उलझन का निदान क्या है, या माफ कर दो या माफी मांग लो. Get to it. जो माफी देता है, he is the person I'm trying you to tell you to be, that a person who can pardon. माफी मांगना भी उतना ही important है. If you feel you have done something out of place, irrespective of your age, your status, or any other situation, if you ask for pardon, it does not lower you in anybody's esteem. In fact, it raises you in the esteem of everybody, that here is a person who has recognized where he has fallen short, and he is willing to be recognized by all that he made a mistake. And trust me, it is going to get you a lot of strength in you. So learn to pardon as well as learn to beg pardon or apologize. But when they say you're asking for pardon and you're apologizing, live your apology. Don't say sorry just for the sake of saying sorry, that I am sorry. Walk your talk. Your actions should support that you are sorry. All these goodnesses will make you an honorable person of the society. You will share a good camaraderie with people where you live. And even if you are having differences between yourself, you will continue to respect those differences, accept people with those differences, and continue to live forward. With this, I would like to once again go back to my opening statement that this today is an opportunity which is available to us because we are faced with a pandemic situation where we are unable to come to college. I do not know how far I have reached into anybody's conscience or psyche with whatever I have shared. It has always been my endeavor, students, that whenever I speak at the IIBM, I do not speak on any subject which is taught in the institution. There are very capable faculty there who will teach you that. I somehow feel that being a good person of the society is an equally important aspect of your living, and I hardly know of any institution which offers training in it. So what I'm sharing with you is with my life experiences, and if in my discourse I have touched a sore point or have offended anybody's personal feelings, I apologize for that. It was unintentional and is only for the sake of communicating this particular thought to you. Thank you very much for a patient listening, and you're welcome to ask questions any.
Thank you so much, sir, for the lovely session. The first question that I have picked up is a student has written that I am an introvert and I speak very less. Due to that, I am always misinterpreted. So how do I deal with such kind of situations?
Can I have the name of the student, please?
Sir, Miss Apurva.
Apurva, when you define yourself as an introvert, please come out of that definition. It is probably manifesting upon you that over a period of time in your upbringing, you felt neglected. Doesn't matter. I mean, everybody doesn't get the recognition what they feel they should get. Go out into the world and face your challenges. Speak what you feel is good. Speak what is in your heart. Live by your heart, and you will not make a mistake. Here, I would like to tell you something, Apurva, that there are two ways of living in life. One is by your heart, and one is by your mind. The mind way is profit or loss way, and the heart way is the love way. And in my lifetime, I have found love has never failed me. I may not have profited much. My decisions in life may have at times been less profitable, but my gains have been that my relationship with people have been very good. From the time that I have been associated with Principal Jai here, I have students for the last 5 years plus in touch with me even till today after they have finished their sessions, and that is my earning. So, when you say you're a feeling of introvert, it is something which you got to step out with. Don't be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid of people who would scorn at you, who would pity you. Doesn't matter. It is their thinking, it is not your thinking. Insults are like bad coins, counterfeit coins. You cannot help people giving you a bad coin, but you don't have to take it. If somebody is being spiteful or insultive, it is their problem, not yours. Maybe they are feeling in some way less, they are feeling inferior, so they are trying to be spiteful to you. Recognize that anybody who's being spiteful to you is essentially coming out from a feeling of inferiority complex. No guru of yours who is superior to you will spite you, they will guide you. Although your guru would always be at a higher plane of knowledge and education, but a guru will never be spiteful. A guru will reprimand you, but reprimand is different from being spiteful. So, my request to you is feel comfortable in life, go and talk to everyone whom you feel you want to talk with, and which includes me. My contacts are available with the faculty, and if the faculty so permits, as and when you'll join in or have more meetings, we could do a one-to-one talk with the faculty being present and we could be speaking. I would be happy to know from you when you say you are introvert, what more do you mean by that? Because it's, I think, a phrase you are happy with. You are perhaps trying to be self-pitying yourself. Don't do that. Never pity the living people. Always pity, I mean, not even the dead for that matter. Human beings have not to be pitied. They don't deserve a pity. You are a strong person and you got to be strong at that. I hope I have been able to reach you on this. And if there's anything unsaid, ma'am will help you to be more communicative with me if that is permissible.
Sure, sir. The next question is it important for citizens to voice their opinions and participate in the decision-making process? If yes, then what are the ways you can make your voice heard?
Name of the student?
Nisha.
Nisha. Nisha ji, I touched on a very small note, a topic of being a person who is a voter. I don't know if I missed that, but that is an aspect where you are able to, as a citizen, convey your thoughts, and the method of expressing your franchise to elect representatives of your society to lead your governance is a way of expressing your voice. I strongly believe that when votings are or when elections are in place, if you are eligible to vote and if you are present there, if you don't go to vote, I think you are a criminal. You should go to vote, even if you don't like anybody there. invalidate your vote by putting a cross against every entry, but exercise your franchise. Don't remain dormant. भाई इतने लोग उधर हैं तो मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ? No, every vote counts. And that is the way you are going to express how your decisions are going to be voiced for good governance. And if you are more motivated than that, then be prepared to come to public office, stand for public office, and become a leader of the nation. Rise up to that. There are ways of doing it, but then you cannot simply say कि मैं नेता नहीं बनूंगी लेकिन दूसरा कोई बन जाए, लेकिन दूसरा कोई बना तो वो ये गलती कर रहा है. You have to lead by example also. If you can do that, excellent, wonderful. Even the people who are in office, public office today, are people like you and me. Hard marks के वैसे आपके और मेरे जैसे ही लोग हैं. They were not brought from another planet, were they? So if you want to exercise your thought choice into improving your society, then one is do vote properly. And if you feel there is more to be done, then come to the public office, be a public elected servant and serve the people. Thank you.
Right. What do you think that, how these bad citizens deserve to be treated?
A little more elaboration on the question, if you will. What type of badness?
Maybe the speaker wants to, or maybe the student wants to ask that if you know that, the person is not abiding by the norms or rules of the government and is violating the norms, and you already know that, then how he should be treated?
I presume the question is that if I see somebody doing an illegal act, should I report it to the authorities? Is that the question? Can I interpret it that way?
Yes, please.
Okay. As a law-abiding citizen, yes, that is what is expected and demanded. Normally, one tends to think, पड़ोसी के घर में चोरी हो रही है, मुझे क्या लेना देना है? खाम खा पे मैं भी चक्कर में फंसूंगा, कोर्ट कचहरी में जाऊंगा, जाने दो ना, पुलिस स्टेशन है, आएंगे, पकड़ लेंगे चोर को. And what am I doing is, I am being a lesser citizen, that when there was an act of burglary underway, I failed to react.
Right.
Possibly, the other situation which we see in other walks of life is, maybe it's not a burglary, it's a dacoity. There are a team of armed people who are making a forced entry into a house, and if you tend to intrude on their action, possibly you might also get hurt. And to protect yourself, you tend not to report or react. At that moment, that may seem justifiable, that you are protecting yourself. If you remember the negative instinct of fear, that you want to protect your existence, it comes out of that. कि भाई ये बंदूक लेके आया, एक आध गोली मुझे मार दे तो मेरा क्या, मेरे पीछे मेरे घर वाले, उनका क्या? It comes out of a fear complex.
Right.
It's a very difficult question to answer, and trust me, it has to be on a case-to-case basis. Let's say you and I are standing at a traffic signal and the signal is red, but you push out and drive through a red signal, and I continue to wait till the signal changes. But while you were crossing, I have noted down your car's number. If I go and report to the police station that so and so car went through a station and a red light, please try to penalize the offender. The process of law at times becomes so difficult that even the law enforcement officers are bound by certain rules and regulations, that they may not be able to take it as a cognizable offense, just somebody reporting. लेकिन यही किसी के साथ सड़क पे मारपीट हो गई और आपने जाके थाने में रिपोर्ट लिखाई, भाई देखो मैं लहूलुहान हूं और इसने मुझे मारा है, that becomes cognizable.
Right.
So yes, as a good citizen, it is expected that you report to the law enforcement any illegal activities which are going on, and if you fear your safety in doing that, then try doing it what you call as what's that word? Gumshuda को क्या कहते हैं? I missed the English word for it. Anonymously. Try doing it anonymously, such that you present the law enforcement with the necessary information and let that machinery take its own path, because they are better equipped to handle such a situation. Like
Right.
if you see a food factory is doing some wrong type of packing of food, which other way becomes a challenge to the people who consume it, then you can report that thing to a food controller's office, food and drug inspector's office, that here is so and so institution where I feel that there is some wrong things going on. Would you like to have a look at it? So they will take care of that situation.
Right. Sir, we have a lot of questions, but I'll pick up the last one as we are running out of time now.
I'm
The
going to
last,
interrupt you there.
yes,
I will be happy to answer all questions offline. You can
right.
share my email ID and have those questions sent to me. I'll reply to each of them.
No problem, sir. I'll
Right?
just type in your email ID in the chat box. Students
Sure.
can see that.
Right.
Okay, so this is the last question. What
Yeah.
should we do when you have to do something extraordinary that your family is not very supportive of? So how should you go ahead about it?
Come to the very first line from the Guru Granth Sahib. Truth. It was truth yesterday, it is truth today, and it will be truth tomorrow. You want to do something which is not being, shall we say, endorsed by your family. It could be as simple as marrying inter-community. It could be like going abroad for a job or studies, or there could be various.
Opting up for a career which your family is not very supportive of.
Not very supportive of. It could be. I mean, it could be like, I'll give you a very loud example on this. In Pune city, we know of a person who does a lot of sewer handling, sewerage,
Okay.
and comes from a very respectable family. The family says, "अरे तू गटर में हाथ डालेगा? ये तेरी शोभा देता है." But no, that is a part of social working, and he gets money out of it. He's earning out of it. What's wrong? Any work which you do is honorable. हम बॉय स्काउट्स में जब सीखते थे, खरी कमाई वगैरह सीखते थे. That is the dignity of labor.
Right.
No work is below dignity so far as it is honorably done. However, if you are support from the family, you want to do something extraordinary or different from what is expected. I have a little elaborate answer here. If you wish to continue to be a part of your family, then some compromises are expected. That's a tightrope walk, or how you will balance. And if you are wanting to be uncompromising, that no, I will not compromise on what I want to do, then you should be prepared to also disassociate and take the hard challenges of making a path for yourself, which is equally honorable. But the false side of that is it will take a finite amount of time for you to succeed. Till the time you succeed, one thing I agree that you will succeed. But let us say it takes 5 years to succeed from whatever you're doing. Then 5 years, you and your family will be strained. And after 5 years, when you succeed, your family will be back with you. Okay, this person was right. But you have lost those 5 good years of being with each other. It depends what values you put on being together with each other. Can I cite a classic example here? Long back had a person, a lady working in my office in Bombay, who was a Protestant Christian, and she wished to marry a Roman Catholic person.
Okay.
Technically, to you and me, dono Christian hai. But between them, it's one is a Roman Christian, another is a Protestant.
Right.
Now, this girl's father was dead against, nahi, you should find a suitor of our own community. It went for quite some time, and then eventually this girl had to be forthright and to convince her father that, look, father,
Hmm.
please see my way that it is my marriage. It's not your marriage. First. Next, if I take any untoward step of leaving the family and eloping with the
Hmm.
person with whom I want to get married,
Hmm.
it is going to carry a social stigma, which
Hmm.
is something which is best avoided. It
Hmm.
is not that I'm trying to blackmail you into it
Hmm.
to take the stigma away, but I'm also telling you that I will eventually be forced by you to take that option because you are not supporting me into marrying a person whom I find acceptable.
Right.
And what will happen is you will perhaps be able to take the stigma also. And
Hmm.
maybe for years together, you will not even talk to me. And
Hmm.
once I have children, you will come to see your grandchildren.
Hmm.
So why do you want to lose all those years
Right.
till you have grandchildren? And
Hmm.
that's when you will talk to your daughter again. Now,
Hmm.
this is a hard line decision for both, for the daughter as well as the parents.
Right.
And they faced with. Eventually, sane counsel prevailed. The father saw the way and he blessed the marriage, and everything was very well. But
Hmm.
this explanation, what she did to explain to her parents,
Hmm.
was what I meant in my discourse as being reasonable, to be able to reason with people and to be open minded to accept reason.
Right.
A child will never blackmail one's parents, but telling the truth doesn't mean it's blackmail.
Right.
I hope this answers the question which was asked. And if not, as I said, the other venue is open. My email is there. How do I write my email here? Where
So
can I write it?
type it in the chat box here. I will type it post the session.
Sure, fine, great. Can we conclude at this stage?
Yes, sir.
It-
Any concluding lines from you, sir?
Concluding lines. Okay. Only one. Give truth a chance.
Right.
That's all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for this lovely session. We learned a lot. Students learned a lot. And I would like to conclude it that life is not about finding yourself. It is rather about creating yourself. And we have got a lot of insights to create ourselves today with wonderful attributes as part of your session. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.